So yeah, thank you for taking the time to join us today. And I have members of the team here, which we'll introduce throughout the webinar. And I'm just going to pass this over to Vicky, and we're going to do a land affirmation.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody. So I just wanted to take a second to say today's guests may be situated on treaty lands, unceded territory, and contemporary homes of First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people across what we now call Canada. The presenters today are situated on Amiskwacy, Waskagan, Papachaise Cree First Nation, Treaty 6 territory, and Métis Nation Regional Zone 4. So we'd like to affirm the historical and current relationship to the land of the Cree, the Saulteaux, Blackfoot, Métis, and Nakota Sioux. Here, we're all treaty people. Treaties hold the key to a new path forward as living agreements regarding the relationship between First Nations and settlers in the past, for the present, and towards the future. It's our duty to respect and honor the treaties for as long as the sun shines, the grasses grow, and the rivers flow. Thanks.
Thank you, Vicky. Today, besides Vicky, we have 3 members, including myself, of the operational team. I am the Director of Communications and for ACCA and BCCA, and also the Director of Shared Services for Access. And I will pass the next introduction to Graham.
Hey everyone. Oh, sorry. Just in the same room as somebody else who's on the call here. So yeah, my name is Graham Dearden, and I'm the Manager of Learning Resources at Volunteer Alberta. And Volunteer Alberta has been kind of partnering with ACCA in delivering access and kind of developing access. And I've been helping out with a lot of the kind of strategic work. And I'm just really happy to be here and see this presentation happening. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Graham. So Karine introduced me a little bit. My name is Vicky Shaughnessy.
Oh, and I'll pass it off to Vicky. I should do that.
Oh.
I should also note, I'll be also moderating the chat during this call. You won't hear from me too much, but if you have questions, I'll answer questions in the chat.
Awesome. Thanks, Graham. Okay, yeah, so I split my time half and half between Volunteer Alberta and Access. So with Volunteer Alberta, I'm Senior Coordinator of Learning and Resources. And with Access, I am Project Manager, Operational stand-in person. I kind of take over all of the operational duties of Access.
So before we jump in, I'd like to recognize our funder and partners on the project, recognizing the number of nonprofit and cooperatives across Canada who provided leadership and time to support the development of this project. And of course, for the Government of Alberta, who provided the funding for the development of access through the Civil Society Fund. And we do have an agenda for today. We're just going to tell you a little bit more about the organization, of who Access is and why we started this. And as well, we are going to end up with introducing our service providers and a Q&A time. If you have questions that you think of that you would like to have answered, you can enter them into the chat and we will address them in that Q&A time. Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's get into it. So what are shared services? So broadly defined, shared services is the collaborative use of resources across traditional organizational boundaries. So that could mean shared space, shared technology, shared staff. There's lots of different ways that shared services can kind of be configured. And for us, we recognize that the concept of shared services is not new. It's been around for a while, but right now it's enjoying a new lease on life because we as nonprofits and co-op leaders are experiencing a lot of barriers, a lot of challenges, and organizational and budgetary pressures. So that is why we are looking at shared services in a new light these days. So one of the biggest questions is, why would you choose shared services for your organization? So we have a couple of key points as to why we think shared services works for nonprofits, co-ops, and social enterprises. So first off is high quality professional services. So through shared services, you have access to specialized services who already understand and support the needs of nonprofits, co-ops, and social enterprises, which mean your organization, when you're seeking a new service provider and you find that new service provider, you don't have to spend the time and resources onboarding them onto what are the specific and unique needs of nonprofits, co-ops, and social enterprises. The next one is efficiency. And for us, we like to think about efficiency as guided by a vision of abundance and possibility. And we like to think that shared services help leverage organizations' combined demand and resources to increase those efficiencies. So, we really want to stay away from the sense that shared services are only a cost-cutting measure. They're only there for efficiency. Really what we see this as is, through our combined resources, and there are strength in unity, strength in numbers, and through those relationships, through those collaborations, we can do better work all together. The next one is sustainability. So shared services can allow for your organization to create long-term systems, and it reduces the risk of losing institutional knowledge and practice when an individual staff person leaves. We know nonprofits, co-ops, social enterprises sometimes have a high rate of turnover, and it can be really challenging and a huge barrier when someone with so much knowledge in your organization leaves, decides to go to another organization, and you again have to spend so much time and resources building up that knowledge of a new person coming in. When you have a consistent, sustainable individual or group who already has that knowledge and who is connected in with your organization, it really lowers the risk of losing that knowledge if someone decides to move on. The last thing is employee retention. So it allows skilled staff to focus on what they do best, rather than learning on the job, learning on the go, being responsible for tasks that they're not necessarily trained for. And this has been shown to actually increase job satisfaction and has better outcomes for your programs. So it means that a staff person who is trained in a particular area isn't then working off the side of their desk to be able to learn new tasks just to keep the operations of your organization running. So it means that person will be able to focus on what they do best, which is going to lead to them feeling better overall about what they're able to contribute, and will lead to better retention for your staff. So who is Access? Who are we? We are a nonprofit cooperative shared service model, and we specifically formed to reduce organizational pressures, fill service gaps, and provide essential administrative back office supports for nonprofits, co-ops, and social enterprises across Western Canada. So for us, it's really important that we blend with your team and we fit your unique needs. We really believe that Access is innovative, it's a collaborative solution, and it allows civil society organizations to focus on what you do best. And we'd like to say, work together smarter. So the vision that we have for Access overall, and what we believe that we can contribute to civil society organizations overall, is we want to be able to see at the end of the day a collaborative and well-resourced nonprofit, cooperative, and social enterprise organizations strengthened through shared services. Our mission specifically is to bring together a team of specialized service providers to share among nonprofits, co-ops, and social enterprises. And for us, this will reduce organizational pressures, and it should fill operational gaps as well. So we labored a lot over these values, and so I wanted to share them with you all. And I think it gives a better sense of who Access is, who we are as a team, and what we're really bringing to the table with Access Shared Services. So the first thing that we really value is accessibility. We provide equitable access to specialized service at a reasonable price. We know that budget constraints and budget pressures are absolutely reality of nonprofits and co-ops and social enterprises. And so we want to be able to meet organizations where they're at and provide services that meet their needs, but at a reasonable price as well. Alignment, we understand the needs of nonprofits, co-ops, and social enterprises, and we find service providers to meet those needs. So like I was saying before, avoiding having to onboard a new service provider onto the unique and special needs of nonprofits, co-ops, and social enterprises. Our goal is to find service providers who already understand those needs, and therefore they're going to be able to work with your organization much more seamlessly. Quality, we provide qualified, professional, and specialized services. So not only are we finding people who really understand those unique needs, the way that they go about relationship building, the way that they go about communicating with clients is really important to us. And we want people who really care about that relationship part of the work that we're doing. Collaboration, so we are non-competitive by default. We uphold, encourage, and facilitate collaboration in the sector. And this is a really big thing for us, because as we're starting up, we're seeing so many different organizations who are doing, bits and pieces of shared services here and there, or who provide a really particular specialized service. And we don't want to be in competition with those organizations. Coming back to that idea of abundance and possibility, we want everybody to work collaboratively together. We want to be able to build each other up, find, areas of expertise, and be able to say, you know what, we might not be the best at that, but we know someone who is. And collaboration is really key for us. Flexibility, so we are flexible and adaptive to members' needs. We know in today's economic, social climate, things change for nonprofits, co-ops, and social enterprises so quickly. New, service needs pop up. Old service needs are not as important, and so we want to be adaptive. We want to be in constant communication with our clients and with our audience to truly be able to understand what are those needs and how do we meet them, and how do we become flexible and adaptive in the services that we provide. Efficiency, we talked about this a little bit, a vision of abundance and possibility. We help leverage organizations' combined demand and resources to increase efficiency. So that could look like, group buying, even things like that. And the last one that's very important to us, last but not least, is integrity. So we act with integrity to build and maintain trusting relationships with our member stakeholders and the sector as a whole. And I think that comes back honestly to almost all of the points that I mentioned above, right? That collaboration, that quality, that alignment, each of these pieces for us is really important to build and maintain those trusting relationships with both our audience, other member associations in Alberta and BC, and just work to make sure that we are truly acting with integrity. And coming at this work from a relationship-based perspective. Okay, so how exactly do you obtain services through access? And that was language we really had to work at, because normally you'd say, how do you access services? But if you're accessing services through access, that gets a little confusing. So we say, how do you obtain services through access? And the way that you do that is your organization must be a member of one of our member owner associations. And I'll go through who that is in a second here. But the one thing that we really want to emphasize is that once you're a member of one of those member associations, in order to obtain services through access, there are no additional membership fees. So there isn't a tiered system where you have to pay even more membership fees in order to obtain services through access. It is already included within, the package of benefits that you get as a member of one of these following organizations. So the first organization I'll talk about is Volunteer Alberta. That's Graham and I are from Volunteer Alberta. And essentially, if your organization is a nonprofit or voluntary organization in Alberta, this would be the member association that would fit best for your needs. And therefore, you'd be able to obtain services through access through Volunteer Alberta. The next one is the Alberta Community and Cooperative Association. I'm sure a lot of you here already know a lot about ACCA. But essentially, if you are a cooperative or credit union in Alberta, the best organization for you to be a member of would be ACCA. The next one is the British Columbia Co-operative Association, BCCA, and it's very similar to the ACCA, except obviously in British Columbia. So you would be a cooperative or a credit union in BC, and that would be the best organization for you. And our last member owner association is Econo Co-op. And so if your organization is a childcare organization in Alberta, BC, or even across Canada, that would be an appropriate organization for you. And this is a little bit where our social enterprise service comes in as well, because we recognize that childcare organizations, some are nonprofit, some are for profit. But for us, a social enterprise is anything where your main mission is social benefit. And so we see childcare providers obviously fit within that definition as well. So whether you're for-profit or nonprofit, if you're a childcare organization, you could become a member of Econo Co-op, and then you'd also be able to obtain services through Access as well.
Also like to say too that this is not the end of the groups.
Right.
We will be looking and seeking for other member associations.
That's right. Thanks for adding that.
Yeah. You needed a drink.
Thank you. Yeah, that's right. All right, Karina, I'll hand it off to you to talk about our client journey.
Well, and probably just the right time to give you a bit of a break. It was really important to our team to develop a CRM or client journey in the early stage of the development of this project. It really helped to define the clear and supportive method that we have chosen to walk our clients through. Our continued return to this map has helped identify gaps and led to development of additional and supporting documents or new avenues to explore about the needs of a potential client, that they may face while exploring and considering the use of our services. And I feel like each step, we've broken it down and just really found a way to hopefully encourage conversation, but also communicate an understanding of what those services are provided, and also a greater understanding of our clients' needs and what they might be looking for. And so that's constantly a refining of how we are offering and what we are offering. Yeah. In July 2021, our first consumer survey was sent out to a cross-section of nonprofits, cooperatives, and charities across BC. In the survey, participants identified which of the back-end services, we had a long list, which were the most likely ones that you would choose over the next 2-year period if you were going to use the services provided through Access. And the survey results gave us a top 10 list of preferred services for us to focus on. And we took that list, checked it twice, but because it was a priority to find service providers who inherently understand the unique needs of our customer base, plus what we are trying to do through the project, the selection of our first 3 services offerings aligned more with finding the right providers, of whom you're going to meet here in a couple of minutes, versus working through the survey results from top to bottom. And so our current service offerings include bookkeeping services, legal and managed IT services. And within the coming months, excuse me, we are looking, what's next, what's around, what types of services could we potentially be providing, what's the need. And some of those services that we are currently considering include HR, or could include, I should say, HR, website development and management, group buying, business development, and supports. So now I'd like to take the opportunity to introduce to you our department leads. And I'm going to start with Jeff Roth, our managed IT service provider. When you meet Jeff, you can quickly see that he clearly stands as an IT provider who doesn't leave you wondering if he's speaking another language. when he's explaining IT services to you. We met him last fall, and we've really appreciated the insight and business experience that he's brought to the table. So welcome, Jeff. And yeah.
We do have a couple of slides here to be able to explain what managed IT services are. So Jeff, as you kind of speak and explain, I'll just flip through these next couple of slides here, if that's okay.
Yeah, for sure. Actually, we had a question in the chat, basically what are managed IT? So here we go. Right on. So yeah, I guess in this wheel here is managed IT in a nutshell. Comparing it to a break fix solution where you might have IT services where, you know, something goes sideways, you make a call. With managed IT, I think right at the top foremost, it's monitoring. With managed IT, you're going to get remote monitoring, you're going to get remote security monitoring. And what this means is if anything malicious gets on your machine, we're alerted. We can set, you know, the security from mild to pit bull. We can have machines, if there's the slightest little thing, it'll disconnect from a network so it doesn't infect the rest of your infrastructure. The remote monitoring will monitor Windows patches, Chrome patches, you know, stuff like that. So if there's any zero-day threats, a zero-day threat is, you know, there's a vulnerability in Chrome, and you know, hackers are exploiting that vulnerability to gain access to information. So all of these things can be monitored and patched remotely. It's not like you need somebody on site, and this is something that is monitored 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. So you're not having to worry about that. It's kind of a peace of mind. You know, the next on the wheel is reporting, depending on what kind of metrics you're looking for, depending on the size of your organization. There's a lot of different things that we can customize for your organization to say, you know, let's say you're a user of Google Drive or OneDrive, Microsoft. We can generate reports saying, well, this is how much data you used in your account, and you might want to consider an upgrade. Instead of one day all of a sudden going, oh my goodness, we're out of space. What do we do, right? So that's another thing that we can, you know, monitor and help with. Improvements, it's with our remote monitoring tool, I can tell you how old your computers are and when we should look at replacing them so that you can keep everything moving smoothly, right? Security, I kind of already touched on that. Another component of that is firewall, network security, that kind of stuff. That's also a service that we can provide in addition to everything else, and it's something that can be monitored and managed by the managed IT. Regular maintenance, that's one of those things that, you know, part of it is physically there, you know, making sure that the computers are, the hardware's operational, but there's also maintenance in the back end that we can run using the monitoring tools. So, you know, I'm sure everybody's heard about clear your cache, clear your temp files. That's stuff we can do without you even knowing. It just happens and it runs smooth, so that you don't have to worry about it. And then the last that everybody's definitely familiar with since COVID is remote support. This is something that IT geeks around the world knew before COVID. It's our superpower tool. If it's something that I can do remotely in 30 seconds instead of driving for half an hour, you know, that benefits both of us. And it's definitely something that's part of the service that is offered. But that is managed IT in a nutshell. So pros and cons to managed IT services versus break and fix. Excuse me. I think the biggest part about the differences or the pros and cons, the break fix typically costs more in the end. If you take an entire year budget versus you know, having a managed service, you have to consider downtime, you have to consider employee time that they're sitting there not working on their computer, stuff like that, or even working with a computer that's not properly maintained, right? So predictable budget and service, it is very, it's a lot more predictable. You have a monthly fee, and typically you're not going to be going over by much on that. Where, you know, a con to a break fix is, yeah, well, pro is that you pay for only the services that you've asked for, but on the flip side is a huge con is unpredictable costs. You know, you could have a $100 month, and then all of a sudden you could have a $5,000 month, right? You know, ask anybody that's had their business encounter ransomware, right? Without having proper security and backups in place, you can have costs that, you know, it's shut down businesses before. So, you know, that's kind of one of those things. Yeah, pro to managed, there's really no surprises. Everything's kind of laid out in an agreement. You know exactly what you're getting. There's proactive support. Just the other day, I noticed I had an alert come up. One of my clients' hard drives was 95% full. Made out a quick call and said, hey, let's see what's taking up all that space before they were shut down, right? So it's that kind of stuff. Yeah. Just wondering if there's any questions in the, nothing yet. Yeah, kind of going on the right side of the slide. Again, it's 24-hour monitoring. The live support in an emergency situation is available after hours. Typically it is like a 8 to 5 kind of service, but you know, I come from an industry that is on all the time. People work all hours of the day. So, you know, I've done support 2 a.m. I've done it before, actually. Somebody on site that needed help. So, you know, it's kind of an understanding. You have a real partner when you have managed IT, somebody that takes your business needs and into consideration. And yeah. Is there another slide after this one?
Nope, that's it.
That's it. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully that kind of encompasses managed IT. If anybody has any questions, I'm sure we'll have contact information that you can reach out to me after, and be happy to answer any questions anybody has.
Well, and you might not get off lightly in the question and answer period, so don't.
Yeah, no, I'll be here.
Okay.
Thanks so much, Jeff.
Thanks, Jeff.
You bet.
So our second department lead is Elliot Bridgewater from Community and Cooperative Council. I met Elliot when I first started working with ACCA, and I appreciate the support and the insight that he's brought to the different issues that I've brought to him or concerns. He's sharp, he's bright, and he's passionate about his work and the clients that he serves. So welcome, Elliot.
Thanks, everyone. Yeah, great to speak in front of a substantial crew here. I'm really excited to be a part of Access. Obviously, we've been working in the background to make it happen and bring it together, and it's really exciting to see us reach this kind of more of a launch point here with services and interested individuals and organizations. So yeah, I'll just briefly introduce what we're doing with Community and Cooperative Council. The whole point of Community and Cooperative Council is to address the unique legal and social concerns of cooperatives, social enterprise, and nonprofit organizations. There's a deep recognition through our collective over 40 years experience in legal practice and consulting work of this unique nature. That other bulk of experience is Bill Awemican, who's a lawyer in Alberta and Wisconsin, and he has about 35 years of experience in cooperative governance and various other services. So we understand this, and we have a highly collaborative approach to how we do legal and consulting services. So obviously, we work with ACCA, BCCA, which are member organizations of Access, as well as national and international organizations to bring the best practice for social enterprise and cooperatives to the forefront. These are somewhat niche areas, and a lot of organizations experience quite a bit of pain when they go to their lawyer and they have to pay their lawyer to learn how these models work in practice. And so you often have this experience of, it feels like we're reinventing the wheel. And our job, as we see it, is to make these services more accessible, make this understanding more common, and demystify these models for everyone. And especially our group that we work in solidarity with through Access, ACCA, BCCA, CMC, and international organizations. So our services are dynamic. We work, more conventionally with incorporations. We also do business risk analysis. We do commercial agreements. We provide employment and labor consulting. We do as well do some litigation, governance review, and various other general counsel-like activities. So the idea is that you can come to us, ask us a question, and we're going to be there for you in a way that is comprehensive. If experts in certain areas such as tax are needed, we have some familiarity in that, but we can always tell you when that may be needed and establish those relationships, make those connections. But that you have somebody in your wheelhouse that you can go to with an email. Hey, Elliot, what's going on with this employment contract? We're looking at our rules or bylaws, and we have this issue. How do you think we should interpret this? Which we do a lot of. And we also have a very principled approach to our practice. So it's about accountability, accountability to community, accountability to our clients. It's about diligence. We work hard for our clients to make sure that we mind the details, and we mitigate the risks that are inherent in running any organization. And we work in solidarity. We are very passionate about the cooperative movement, social enterprise, and nonprofits as huge contributors to the health of our societies. Yeah, that's us. Very happy to be here and answer any questions you may have, and of course continue the conversation.
Thank you, Elliot. And finally, not last but not least, definitely, is Nishad. And Nishad Villani. Nishad is definitely one of the nicest guys that you get to meet. He makes friends with wherever he goes. He's always quick to offer help in and out of the office. Not that we're offering his services to help, but he's definitely a great guy. And he's super eager to support the launch of Access's financial services. We recently signed his first client through Access, and that was a pretty exciting day for all of us. So welcome, Nishad.
Thanks, Corinne. And I would like to thank everyone for joining. We are very excited to launch our bookkeeping services at Access. The question is, why bookkeeping at Access? So we aim to provide quality bookkeeping at a reasonable cost to our clients. Our surveys show that smaller nonprofits and cooperatives do not always have the capacity to hire a full-time bookkeeper. So we intend to solve this problem, and we intend to solve this problem by providing fractional staff to our clients. By taking advantage of the shared services, shared bookkeeping services, our members will experience higher operating margins. So what I quickly like to now talk about is briefly provide you an overview of what our full cycle bookkeeping service offering is going to be. So this will include accounts receivable and accounts payable management, and this entirely depends on the client's accounts receivable and accounts payable policies. We will also provide payroll. Again, this depends on the client's preference as to how frequent the client would prefer to have payroll processed. So that would be either bi-weekly or monthly, sometimes even semi-monthly. We would ensure that all the payroll taxes are paid or remitted to the CRA in a timely manner. We would also prepare monthly and quarterly financial statements, and again, this also depends on client needs. Sometimes the clients are smaller and they don't always require monthly bookkeeping. So we are open to the idea of preparing quarterly bookkeeping, quarterly financial reporting for those clients. And sometimes the clients have a bigger budget and require a monthly reporting. And so for those clients, we would offer a monthly preparation of financial statements. We would also assist in annual preparation of annual budgets and provide insights on how to budget and any advice that we can provide for budgeting. I would like to again now pass on to Vicky or Corinne for any questions.
Okay. So I'm not sure that Graham, do we see any questions in the chat there?
Nothing yet.
Okay, so we can do two options. We can perhaps just open it up to the, I would say floor, but it's the windows.
That's right, yeah.
But before we start with that, I actually wanted to go back to Raquel, if she's still with us, and just jump in with her and see if we answered for her what managed IT services are.
Yes, you did.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. It's a concept that is kind of bewildered Vicky and I, so we're still working through it too. So yeah, so we do have one from Volunteer Strathcona. Okay, so what is your capacity in terms of the number of clients, members you can support? It's a great question.
Mm-hmm. I would say at this point, like we have just launched, we are sort of both 1 foot in and 1 foot out of our development phase, I would say. So we have 1 or 2 clients for each of our services at this point, and we are absolutely ready to take on new clients. And the wonderful thing about it, about shared services, is that, you know, if you do end up reaching capacity, you bring on a new team member with all of those specialized skills and services who can, you know, continue to meet the needs. So I would say that although right now, you know, we have capacity for a few clients per service, and we only have about 1 or 2 right now, so we absolutely have some capacity. As soon as we start getting more and more calls in, we're going to expand our team, add to our team, and we'll be ready to up that capacity at any time. Thanks for the question.
Okay, so yes, so one of the things about bulk purchasing, that is something that we are in a conversation with. So I will say we refer to it as group buying. So that's one of the next services that we're looking at including in our next launch. Joint learning Sorry, I'm just quickly trying to read it. Client management programs, do we?
Raquel, can you say more about client management programs?
Well, not coherently, but yes. Just, I mean, we, like for our co-op, some of the programs that will help us streamline, you know, onboarding of members and streamlining management of who's holding shares and so forth. Some of the automation of our operations is expensive, even taking, you know, online payment, things like that. in discussion with the other co-ops, solar co-ops in particular, we've really been benefiting from the work of Bow Valley Green Energy. They've shared a lot, and they basically just recommended, just use the Excel spreadsheets and keep it cheap for now. And in part because we're anticipating this type of service. And so, yeah, I'm just wondering, I'm not really sure what will help us the most, but it seems to me that some of these programs will help prevent volunteer burnout in the long run, will help automate things in the long run, but they are expensive. So during the startup phases for co-ops, yeah, too expensive, beyond reach. Yeah, so is there any opportunities that, forget my question because it's probably not a good one, but are there ways, besides sort of shared bookkeeping services and cheaper legal services, are there platforms and things that we can all benefit from, both in terms of unifying our operations so we can all take advantage of the same learning curves, or making it cheaper for all, that kind of thing?
I can help with this question a little bit, actually, I think.
Thanks, Graham.
So one thing I just wanted to mention about bulk purchasing is one of our kind of member owners right now is Econo Co-op, and they provide shared services for childcare organizations. But one of the things that has been that we foresee being possibly beneficial about that work with them is that they also do have kind of like bulk purchasing options for their clients. So just that kind of shared knowledge we might be able to kind of like use in the future, because we have had lots of questions about bulk purchasing for various different projects. But one other thing was in terms of the model that we also kind of use right now, we've seen other organizations also work with clients to kind of apply for funding in kind of like a bulk purchase way. Like we've seen other organizations kind of support nonprofits and co-ops in their community to kind of apply for funding to be able to purchase services from an organization that does shared services through different granting streams in their community. So that's just one thing I want to mention. I think that we still have a little bit of development work to do around kind of like bulk purchasing to really say we're going to do one thing or the other, but those are some of the initial thoughts that we've been having.
Thanks so much, Graham. I also have one more thing to add as well. I think part of what's really beneficial about the shared services model and the fact that, we are focused specifically on, member-based organizations, member associations, organizations who are already part of a network, is then being able to utilize that network. I would love to see, a community of practice of access organizations and access members, and whether that's, an online space where folks can come and say, this is a challenge that, I've been struggling with, and how is your organization working with that, even if it's not directly related to the services that you're obtaining through Access. It would be incredible for us to be able to leverage that networking power, that association power, the fact that we all really care about member-based organizations and would have the same challenges, but also hopefully we'd be able to share some of those solutions as well. So talking about the client management programs, like what are other co-ops doing, and being able to have a community of practice where people can share ideas of that. I'd also like to encourage you, Raquel, please send me an email with the idea of client management programs. I think for us about being flexible and adaptive is keeping tabs on what other services organizations are requesting. So if that's something that you think that organizations would find useful, please send me an email and let me know, and I'll definitely, we've got a folder of kind of future things to explore, and I think that would be really great to explore. So please do reach out to me and let me know your interest in that. And invitation for anyone else on the call here too, if there is a service gap that you've recognized or noticed, please reach out to us and let us know, hey, I'd be really interested in this service, and that will really help us be flexible and adaptive to your needs. So thanks.
Yeah.
So the access at sharedservices.coop.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, Raquel, and I was also going to say too that we have as a team gone through the pains of trying to figure out a platform that we can use to manage this project. And we started with 2 platforms that are already in use, looking at using them, found it to be, one of them to be quite costly. We've spoken with I think the term would be software developer, to potentially make a platform that would work. So we'll definitely keep that information coming out as we know a little bit more about that. So that might help you. We were kind of currently just using Airtable to just manage just the initial start. So that might be something that you might want to look into as well. And I did want to jump to the next one, volunteer Strathcona was the second, sorry, sustainability. Yeah, volunteer Strathcona. We are looking at a way to, and man, the word is just lose, it's not surprising. The $5.
Oh, the Graham had it earlier. My mind is also blanking. The subsidy. There we go.
Subsidy. So a percentage or part of the fees are going to go towards creating a subsidy to support nonprofits and cooperatives that need the supports but can't necessarily afford the supports.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right.
And then we have this one right here from Hazel.
Hazel, as a national organization, the Canadian Worker Co-op Federation would like to know the geography you cover. Also, is there a fee schedule available? So
Yes and yes.
Yes and yes. Yeah. So currently the geography that we're covering is Western Canada. We cover organizations in Alberta and BC. I believe Akana Co-op might be the only exception to that, as they do cover nationally. But part of our aspirations is to be able to add member associations, member owners who we'd be able to expand our reach at this point. So.
Yeah, and that's also just partially limited to the confines of the grant.
Yes,
so,
yeah, that's right too. But I mean, what's interesting is I don't know that we've gotten a whole lot of inquiries from, you know, national organizations. And so that would have to be something that we discuss. You know, at this point, the inquiries that we've gotten have been relatively straightforward. They're either a BC organization or Alberta organization. And so if your organization spans the entire, you know, span of Canada, then please reach out to us and we'd love to have a conversation about what that would look like, because we're certainly interested in expanding our reach there too. So yeah.
Hazel, does that answer your question?
Oh, the first part.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it does.
Great.
Okay.
And then, is there a fee schedule available? Yes, there is. So we have fee schedules available for all 3 of our services. So please just reach out to us. We can send you a full list, comprehensive list of what is in scope, what is out of scope, and exactly what those services cost as well. So if you send an email to the access@sharedservices.coop and request, you know, a catalog of services or whatnot, we'll definitely be able to send that over your way.
Oh, we see Graham already did answer.
Oh, great. Look at that. Well, for
Graham.
people who aren't looking at the chat, I guess we just went over it again. That's fine.
That's right.
Look at that. Thanks, Graham.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's it for the chat, but I also think that we had a question flagged from earlier as well. Karine, did you want to?
Yeah, so this question was for Jeff. And the question is, what is included in the remote monitoring every month?
Yeah, so the remote monitoring portion is, the first part is security, and the second part is more of like a endpoint monitoring, which ties into security as well. So the security portion is like your antivirus. It'll protect you from malicious activity, bad files, that kind of thing. And when I say monitoring, that means it does reach out to a cloud platform and kind of submits a log. So if you have an infection, several of my devices will actually light up and say, hey, endpoint XYZ reported a suspicious activity, and it starts going through a mitigation process. Depending on the threat score, it'll, you know, as I mentioned before, I can set it to kind of monitor only or to pitbull. I can have it completely shut down a machine. If it's a severe, let's say a ransomware attack or something like that, where it starts encrypting files before it reaches out and starts encrypting, Dropbox or OneDrive, network shares, that kind of thing. The second part of it is called the RMM, which is remote monitoring tool that monitors the physical hardware. So let's say your processor is running at 95% for longer than 9 minutes. I'll get an alert saying, hey, this machine's kind of acting funny. Let's find out why. It'll tell me if your hard drive's full. It'll tell me if a fan has failed, which usually leads to further hardware damage. And it also monitors Windows updates and other application updates like Chrome, Adobe, stuff like that. So I'm able to go through your entire organization and say, hey, look, like, most of your machines are running the old version of Chrome. Let's update that. I can have automatic schedules roll out every day if we want to check for updates for Windows, for anything to kind of keep those security patches up to date. There's a whole breadth of activities and tasks that I can have run using that monitored software.
Thank you, Jeff.
Karina, I just wanted to mention one other thing. Sorry, I just want to make sure I can be heard. Yep. Because I'm just noticing we're kind of getting up to time here, and I wanted to mention one thing before people start kind of filing out. If your organization isn't a member of one of the kind of member owners of Access right now, I also wanted to just encourage you to, like, if you are members of another type of representative organization like one of our member owners, and you would want to see them offering services through Access, tell them to reach out to us, because that's part of the business model that we have here too, is that we don't want to just make it something where we're kind of filing people through our select organizations that we want you to interact with. We want to make sure that part of the business model encourages you to reach out to your community and talk to your community and try to find solutions within your community before seeking a bunch of services. So yeah, if your organization is represented by some type of federation or something like that you think could offer services through Access to their members, definitely tell them to reach out to us.
Awesome, thanks, Graham. I also wanted to mention as well that I realize we have on the legal slide that there's a free consultation with Elliot, which is true, but I was realizing as well throughout presenting here that I would say that we also offer free consultations for our other two services as well. Jeff is wonderful at being able to have a conversation with people who don't have a whole lot of IT experience or really know what their needs might be, and be able to have, a conversation about an assessment essentially about what your IT services might be, whether we can meet those needs or not. So I would call that a consultation, and I would say the same thing for the bookkeeping services as well. If you're not quite sure what your needs are, you're not quite sure if Access is the right position or organization for you, give us a call. We'll hook you up with one of our service providers, and you guys can have a free conversation about what those services might look like as well. So I would say that that's important to mention too.
That's very important. Thank you, Vicki.